Arturia has released a STUDER J37 only tape emulation plugin, and they are one of the few developers who have done this. The other big one that has a dedicated J37 emulation is Waves. Maybe it's an Acousticast Tope as well, but we will compare the Epiroad J37 plugin to this new Arturia emulation later in the video. The first thing you will notice is the photorealistic user interface, which absolutely looks great. All knobs and buttons make sense, there's no gunk happening. Tape J37 made the smart decision to not only go for a strict tape emulation, but also add tape-specific effects like tape delay options, and a tape stop option. And these improve the versatility of this STUDER emulation by quite a bit. But of course, it all depends on whether the actual tape emulation sounds good, and in my opinion, it does. Here's a first example on drums with the default tape color. The plugin already adds a tiny bit tape sound with the drive at 0. Let's increase the drive and hear how the saturation and overdrive sounds. You get crunch for sure, but it is not unpleasant with these stock settings. When you decrease the drive to just under overdrive, this plugin gives you a lot of oomph, good punch and tape compression. Now with tape J37 you get 4 tape color sounds in total. And these vary in how hot they sound, but also have a different flavor. There's also a switch to turn off the low and high pass filters associated with the tape sound. You can shape the tape compression and saturation behavior with the EQ. You can use pre or post EQ, but the coolest in my opinion is emphasis. This doesn't affect tonality as much, but you can easily reduce the tape saturation for the low end. Or, for instance, have the tape saturation hit the higher frequencies harder. On these drums that will give a very smooth, rounded high-end and snare sound, which I think is lovely. Like I mentioned in the intro, tape J37 also has built-in effects, 3 in total. But before we get into that, please make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit that little like button. If you need to split the revenue of your releases with multiple collaborators, DistroKid has splits. This enables you to, very simply, split the revenue you make. Add as many collaborators for a release you want and decide how much of the cake they get in percentages. On top of that, you can set recoupments as well, so if you agree on a fixed fee instead of royalties, this is the way to do that. Get 7% off of your first year with DistroKid by using the link in the description. The first effect is tape stop. If you're after this kind of effect, this one is cool. You get a lot of choice in how quickly the tape should stop. And there's even a start option. The most useful effect in J37 is probably the delay. And in this plugin, this is a rather simple one, but powerful enough to add a very typical tape delay sound. There are several timings to choose from and you get sync and filters. Very nicely you can offset this delay, which is just good to have. There's also calibration, which I see as an effect as well. This one offers tape noise and instability, and especially the latter is good to have to add some warble and flutter movement on more stale sounds, like on this synth pad. Now in use, I would dial in this plugin like this. Start with playing around with the tape colors, until you find the one that sounds best. I just drive, and don't forget to try out 7.5 or 15 IPS as well. Then add a bit of EQ to see how it fits to the sound. In this case, it's EQ after the tape. And done. The original recording sounds more polished now. It's as simple as that. Now let's compare the Arturia J37 to the Waves Abbey Road J37. Functionality-wise, I'm sure Arturia has looked at the Waves plugin. Both have delay functionality, noise and wow and flutter. Overall, at 7.5 inch per second, I feel like I can push the Arturia J37 better into saturation. You hear the sound getting denser before getting into overdrive. With the Waves J37, the switch to that overdrive bark happens way earlier, and I get less of that denser sound. At 15 IPS, this difference is less big. But the Arturia still gets that denser tape sound before getting into distortion. With Waves, switching between the modeled tracks doesn't make a difference in this behavior. The delay in the Waves sounds slightly more digital, and that is probably because the Arturia can tape compress better. It is a softer sound to begin with. But with the modulation, these sound really different. On this acoustic guitar, I'd say pick your favorite here. The Arturia Tape J37 is absolutely lovely sounding and one of the best tape emulations released this year. If it's the best is up for discussion, the Universal Audio Ampex ATR is also up there. Go check that one out in the review, which is displayed on screen and linked in the description below.